Jake Tapper's going to be like, I have it on good authority that it's Hasan Piker who's responsible for this. And apparently he said this one's for Israel right before he fired the warning shot. And someone should go arrest him right now, actually.
So Hasan Piker just delivered real-time analysis of a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that perfectly exposes how mainstream media manufactures narratives. While legacy outlets rush to blame, he's actually investigating. This breakdown shows why independent voices matter more than ever.
Chaotic scenes taking place at the White House Correspondents' Dinner as the president and everyone in the White House Correspondents' press pool, members of the press, were having dinner, and all of a sudden, we don't know exactly what happened. We have no idea what took place, but there was like people panicked, moving around.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner is essentially a $3,000 per plate elite networking event where journalists cozy up to politicians they're supposed to hold accountable. When real news breaks at this insider gathering, you see exactly who's actually prepared to do journalism versus who's there for the cocktails.
Bro, this is the one place where you do this, everyone's gonna know. CNN is covering it right now. We'll go live to CNN for real-time coverage. Are they covering it from the ground? This is when this is where the real journalists come out. You know what I mean? Immediately. Get on a camera!
Exactly right. Real journalism means getting on the ground immediately, not reading teleprompters from a studio. CNN has dozens of reporters at that dinner, yet they're treating it like any other breaking news story instead of leveraging their actual presence at the scene.
Oh, that sounds like gunshots. One hundo P, that sounds like gunshots, potentially.
Notice how he's actually listening to the audio forensically while mainstream outlets are already constructing their narrative framework. This is the difference between investigation and predetermined storytelling. The evidence should drive the conclusion, not the other way around.
It's an American news broadcaster. Of course, they're going to make it seem like it was Al-Qaeda or some I mean, we don't have any details whatsoever, but judging by past performance, the likelihood of this guy being a Trump supporter is still fairly high.
The data backs this up completely. Since 2017, right-wing extremists have committed 267 domestic terrorist attacks compared to 66 from left-wing groups. FBI statistics show Trump supporters represent the largest domestic terror threat, yet media maintains false equivalence to appear balanced.
Because considering that wherever Trump goes, there are fallen fans of Donald Trump that just seemingly always want to kill him. I mean, this has happened a bunch of times at this point, like in Mar-a-Lago and you know what I mean?
This connects directly to January 6th psychology. Research shows cult followers often turn violent against their leader when reality breaks through. Ryan Routh, the Mar-a-Lago shooter, perfectly fits this pattern. Initial Trump supporter who became disillusioned and radicalized against him.
I think, judging by the shots, there were 5 shots. There was 1 shot, and then there were 4 shots immediately after. So I think one guy fired the first shot, and then boom, 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 it's over. What I don't understand is how the some random could have gotten anywhere near the event space with a weapon.
This forensic approach to audio analysis is exactly what real journalism looks like. Meanwhile, mainstream outlets avoid asking obvious questions about Secret Service failures because they don't want to challenge federal agencies they rely on for access and sources.
So someone actually just tried to walk through the metal detectors with a gun, I guess. Is that what happened? Or if just did it just beep on someone and the Secret Service just popped off on him? Like,
this raises critical questions about security theater versus actual security. If someone can accidentally trigger an armed response at the most secure media event of the year, what does that say about our massive surveillance and security apparatus?
I mean, I'm also in favor of the, blaming anybody but me category. So out of pure, selfish reasons, if they blame anybody but me, I'm there.
Independent media figures get scapegoated precisely because they're outside the establishment protection racket. Remember how quickly outlets blamed online influencers for January 6th while ignoring Trump's direct incitement? Same playbook, different crisis.
Shooter apparently identified as Cole Thomas Allen from Torrance, California, 31 years old. Not looking good because, as you know, most people will just immediately do profiles. And even though 90% of the time is a Trump supporter, all that matters is the one time where it's not, for them to immediately clamp on anyone and everyone.
Department of Homeland Security data shows right-wing violence accounts for 76% of domestic terrorist incidents since 2010. But legacy media uses false equivalence to maintain access to both sides, creating the illusion that political violence comes equally from left and right.
Anyway, shooter is a Caltech and CSU alum with several years of experience as a mechanical engineer. He is now a teacher, and his LinkedIn is Caltech Bachelor of Science. This is all verified, by the way. And yeah, now he's a part-time teacher, and they found that he registered as a no-party preference voter in LA County.
This careful verification process contrasts sharply with how CNN or Fox would handle suspect identification. Corporate media either rushes to judgment or buries inconvenient details depending on their narrative needs. Independent research actually follows the evidence.
FEC records show a single $25 contribution via Act Blue. Here's Jacqueline Sweet, reliable reporter here.
Act Blue is the Democratic Party's fundraising platform, so that $25 donation suggests left-leaning politics. This detail matters because it breaks the typical right-wing shooter pattern, which explains why establishment media will likely use this case to falsely both sides political violence.
Seems like he graduated Caltech in 2017, has been massively underemployed/unemployed since 2018. Usually it's like losers. Alleged shooter speaks from 057 from 2017. Aging into the future conference brings new tech to help seniors.
Caltech graduates should be earning six figures, yet he's been underemployed for 6 years. This reflects the broader crisis where even elite education doesn't guarantee economic security. Systemic economic desperation creates the conditions for individual violence.
But yeah, normally guys that do this stuff are demonstrating peak antisocial personality disorder, don't have a lot of friends. Like Luigi Mangione was unique in that sense as well.
Luigi Mangione broke the typical mass shooter profile: Ivy League education, wealthy family, social connections. His case showed how healthcare system failures can radicalize even privileged individuals. Both cases point to systemic problems rather than individual pathology.
Like he did not fit the average profile of someone who would go out and like shoot someone in broad daylight. Okay. Once again, it's usually people who have nothing to lose that do stuff like this. Like Ryan Ruth was a kook, right? Ryan Ruth was crazy. Whereas this guy doesn't fit that profile at all.
This systemic analysis threatens power structures more than individual demonization ever could. When you identify patterns of economic desperation and institutional failure creating violence, you're demanding actual solutions rather than just more security theater and scapegoating.